Well, delighted to say we've got Joanna Marchand here in the studio. Joanna, nice to see you. From the Taxpayers Alliance. We're going to talk about bins, right? Because bins are forever the bane of people's lives, and we talk about them a lot on this show, and we're going to talk about it some more. Let's get Darren first, though, on the voice coach.
Mike, Darren from Suffolk, great show as ever. So this party that Sakir had on Christmas Eve, you know, in the evening, the work event. So the party they had in the evening. So what I think she did is she came all the way from Brighton because she's been teaching them how to lie over the first 6 months, all of them. So that's the reason why they were all there, because she had to teach them how to lie, you know, not a penny more on council tax. We will freeze winter fuel by raising a windfall tax. 30 plus lies already. They are just blatant liars.
They really are just blatant lies, it has to be said. Joanna, we were talking about councils earlier about how the government has decided in its wisdom to cancel a load of elections at local council level. I think 9 local council sort of general areas are not bothering to have them. This is all about bins and how they're going to change the way that people's bins are collected. Something like 42 councils in the UK, more than 1 in 10, are going to change the way they collect waste. Why?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, why is a very good question. It's obviously they're going a bit bankrupt. They've crunched numbers of some sort and realised that it's not actually covering the amount to do the run. So they want to do the bin run, less frequently.
Right. So they want to work less, in other words.
Yeah. Well, you're paying more money in council tax. They're apparently broke, and these are the cuts that they're making.
Because some council tax is going up by as much as 10%, isn't it? And so you're going to get less for it, in other words.
Exactly, yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, because if I'm right in saying this, most councils outsource their bin collection, don't they? They give it to, you know, these companies like Veolia or something like that, who you'd never pronounce their name. And you never quite know when they're coming or what they're doing or which bits they're collecting. I mean, the whole business of recycling seems to have sort of fallen by the wayside in some places, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of, 1, they are infrequent. 2, you never know when they're coming. 3, it's just entirely, like, it's one of these issues that are always so annoying to every single person. It doesn't matter who you are. Not only, even if you're living in a flat building where you don't really have to do your recycling and it's all one big skip, you will still see the consequences of these bin changes, because there'll be fly tipping, there'll be rubbish when you walk. You see it in certain parts of London. Lambeth is notoriously bad for it, where you see rubbish everywhere because they're just not doing the primary thing that they should be doing. You think about council tax, you think about what council should do. Bins are like one of the first things you think of.
Right. And also it's just kind of health measure, isn't it? Particularly when it gets to the summer. I mean, it's hard to imagine what it's going to be like when it's cold in the winter. But in the summertime, you know, you want the bins collected properly, quickly. You don't want rats running around, foxes running around. I mean, it's pretty awful out there. The streets are pretty dirty anyway. And one of my pet bugbears is that they don't empty the public bins, you know, the things that sit on our streets. They're always overflowing, they're rammed with... Who's supposed to empty those? Those are local councils as well, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they are. So it's just another aspect. They clearly don't have any aspect of this under control. And just the mere thought of Bristol Council going from fortnightly to monthly black bin collections caused outrage. And when I looked into it, having seen 42 other councils in the UK considering the same move, it's like, well, they're really not listening to anyone here. They're not listening to public consensus. One of these councils, they not only are they picking up waste less frequently, they're also decreasing the size of the bin itself.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, so if you've got a big wheelie bin now, and you're only going to get emptied once a month, they're going to give you a smaller bin.
Exactly. It was going from 240 litres to 180,
Right. And what happens to the big bins then if they take them away?
No, exactly. Where are you supposed to put it if not try to find it somewhere else?
But again, is this not also the dead hand of the old Green Brigade, who are trying to make out that we throw too much away? So here's what we need to do, is to say to people, right, we're not going to collect as much rubbish from you, so you just have to do something else with it. What are you supposed to do? Like bury it in the garden? I mean, if you happen to have a garden.
I guess that would be environmentally friendly.
Well, people will just do things. I mean, like, go down to Sussex. I mean, you just start burning stuff. People will just start burning it and incinerating rubbish, which is not really very good for the environment.
I know my parents living where they do, they're having this issue themselves. And it's like, no matter how conscious you're being and you're trying to sort it out, it's still going to be really annoying. Like, we just start putting it places. Like you do when you go to a restaurant, you're like emptying your bins at that restaurant. It's ridiculous.
Exactly right. People will start putting it in the car and driving off to some service stop somewhere and dumping it.
It sounds silly, but people actually do it. Like good people actually do this because it's so ridiculous.
Well, they will. I mean, I know people. You know, certainly down in Sussex, there's a town dump. Because a lot of people will simply just take their rubbish there. They put it into black bags, pretend it's something else, and just throw it into the sort of household waste, which has got a great big tip. And so that's going to happen a lot more, isn't it?
Yeah, and councils will have to pay for it. So they're cutting costs in something so basic to then make up for it in, I don't know, like pest control in the summer when there'll be a rodent issue.
Yes.
Or even fixing the fly tipping. I mean, you're just going to... It makes no sense whatsoever.
It is one of the most stupid things that they can ever do. And also, God forbid you ever miss one of their collections. Because if you live in a rural part of the country particularly, and they only come, say at the moment, once every fortnight, and if you miss it, then you're stuck with a load of rubbish, literally, for a month.
And there's also like loads of strict rules and regulations in terms of if it's a millimetre above or the lid's not closing, they won't do it. Yeah, they have.
They've fined people for not recycling the right things, but all the rules are different depending on where you live.
Yeah.
You know, in London, for example, you can live in a place where you don't recycle anything, or you can live in a place where you recycle everything together, or some people want you to recycle the food. And the bottles, and it's just ridiculous.
It's really too complicated.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it's a metaphor for how useless this country has become. We can't even organise the rubbish collection properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's absolutely embarrassing. Well, good to see you, Joanna. Thank you very much indeed, Joanna Marchong. Thankfully, the Taxpayers Allowance keeps an eye on these things because you've got to watch out. So we'll probably do some calls on this actually, maybe not now, but one day soon, on what exactly is going wrong with all the rubbish in this country and why can't they get it right? Unbelievable.